let's step back and look at the degree of change which we currently face. So first of all, at an economic level, we see in the world of banking that there's a shift from the pursuit of high growth to a focus on containment of costs. And in fact, there's a prediction that between 2010 and 2025, 2.5 million banking jobs will be lost in the US and EU over that 15-year period. Beyond the economic factors, there's also the change in banking landscape. We see that the last few years, there's been a retreat of global brands across emerging markets, which has then created a vacuum, an opportunity for the rise of super regional banks and for domestic national banks to grow beyond their traditional borders. At the same time, we've also seen the entry of new digital-only banks, just to throw in something else into the mix. Then at an infrastructure level, there's a lot of change happening there. So historically, banks that had mainframe computers, banks that had large, sophisticated core banking platforms were seen as having a competitive advantage. But actually now that infrastructure is typically portrayed as legacy, typically portrayed as being a barrier to the fast development and deployment of new services. At the same time, market infrastructure is being refreshed. In many countries around the world, we've seen domestic low-value payments clearing systems replaced and upgraded to accommodate real-time transactions and a greater amount of data. And in fact, there's this new piece of infrastructure that's replacing the branch, which is the mobile phone, that now gives access of consumers to financial services. So it's not uncommon now to talk about the connected consumer. The consumer that expects always on, always available at their side, access to services. The same consumer is a global shopper, they're a global trader, and they understand and are typically leading the adoption of global trends into local markets and economies. Traditional business models such as B2B and B2C are becoming blurred. And at the same time, we talk more about things like the gig or sharing economy. So definitely times are changing. And this panel would explore these and other topics in the context of the theme a lot more.
There's no denying that we live in a very divided world today, where you see the rich are getting richer, the middle class, as you had alluded, are shrinking in most constituencies. The poor are not getting any better. In fact, statistics which I uncovered the last couple of months showed that while the world population is hitting 8 billion and 9 billion, the good things is that in the next 10 years, for example, in Nigeria, you have potentially 15 million new customers for the banks to take advantage of. But the reality is that many of them may not have jobs, in the conventional way. Indeed, a global study shows that currently 2.5 billion people are jobless, and 3 in 4 have got no access to social security, and this includes United States of America, and President Trump is going to make it worse. And while we have got many more young people in terms of population, don't forget the old are getting older because they have lived longer, because of technology, the health system has improved, and therefore 1 in 6 of us are going to be above 70 years of age. And without a proper, the conventional social security systems, which I think a lot of governments are worried today because of the future cost of pensions, and they are dismantling the whole systems.
imagine a situation where a government of any country now takes a policy that tax revenue should not be paid into banks. Many banks would have collapsed. So I think this conference, in thinking about the future of banking industry globally, we should try as much as possible focus on the aspect of tax revenue. Before this conference came up, before I was invited to this conference, I never thought there was any relationship between the banking industry and taxation. But with this conference, I started to think, supposing all the taxes were collected, where will the tax collectors keep the taxes? So all these taxes are kept in the banks. So therefore, there should be a lot of focus on the growth of taxation globally. Then the other things I think we need to look at for the future of banking is how to assist countries to promote, e-payment of taxes. Because some countries, especially like the countries in the African continent, there are still some of them that when they collect taxes, they collect them manually. So it should be promoted that all taxes collected should be put in the banks so that the banks, there'll be economic growth in the banks as well as the country that we talk about.
Technology is fungible, and banks that don't embrace technology definitely will get caught behind. But what I want to put out, and it is I want to put out, is banks that focus on the human factor alone without technology definitely will die. Banks that embrace technology will survive, but banks that will win in future are those that will focus on both technology and the human factor. Very key. So I see a trend where in the future, banks move from a focus on intermediation to a focus on financial advisory, to creating tailored services through the use of technology to serve customers.
Every endeavor has to have a purpose. And it's the purpose that attracts people because they want to leave something in their community. The banking services is a business of trust. That when people can work, they keep their money with us, so that when they can no longer work, they hope we've kept the money for them, and therefore they can collect it at their old age. That is a generational contract, and everybody that comes to the banking industry needs to understand that. When people stop saving, economy collapse. So every banker needs to carry that as a responsibility, and that is the basis of the ethics in the banking industry. You need to understand, every banker needs to understand that when we do wrong things, economies collapse because we'll have sent the wrong signal to people. The young people that come to the banking industry, we are asking them to solve problems, to make our society better. If you can articulate that properly, if you can create an environment in which they feel empowered to actually solve real problems, and they're not pushing paper, and they say, why do I need to push this paper? Because I told you so. If they don't understand why, if we cannot explain it ourselves, then they will not understand why they're doing it. If they do understand why they're doing it, and that it creates a better society, you'll be able to get people to collaborate, people to be ready to do it. The banking environment doesn't have to be a dull, dark room. It can be a place of fun as well.